All right. It is, as of recording, officially January 1st, so I can go through my books with you guys. I read a pretty decent amount of books. This isn't even all of them that I read in the last 3 months. So let's try and make this a little quick, because I also have a few books that I've purchased, and because it's now the new year, I can just go over the books that I was gifted as well. So we got a lot to talk about and only so much battery on my phone. The first 2 books within the last 3 months were library books. And one was a self-help. It was a nonfiction. It was called Future Tense, and it was about anxiety. So that is the reason I picked this book up. It was okay, but it's not a book that I would go out and buy. It covered a good amount of things that I already knew about anxiety just from personal experience or from other books that I've read. So it didn't really stick out to me that well. In fact, I forgot about it until I was getting ready for this video. The next library book I do remember, and that is The Last Unicorn, The Lost Journey. So this is actually the first draft of The Last Unicorn that Peter S. Beagle wrote, which is very much different from the version that we have today. He published it a while ago. I thought it was like a sequel book, but it's not. So I read this. It's only 6 chapters long, but it's still a fun story, and it still has the unicorn. So I liked it. It was great, and I definitely want to try and find a copy of it, especially the copy that I read. I want the red copy for my shelf, because I can't find another copy of it anywhere. The next book I read, I do own this book, but I brought it home in November for my mom to read, and that is The Stowaway by James S. Murray and I think Darren Warmouth. I'm recording with my phone, so I cannot check, and my laptop is dead, so I can't check that either. It was for the library's book club for November, right? November was, the topic was haunted attraction, things like that. So I picked The Stowaway because it had to do with a cruise ship and a murderer on a cruise ship, and it was a good book. I liked it. It was fast-paced, but it had a lot of story and a lot of action going on. I definitely liked it. The writing I thought was okay. Just I don't read a lot of thriller books like that, so I don't know. I don't know how it ranks up with everything else. I normally read fantasy and sci-fi, but I really liked it. I thought it was a good book. The next book that I read is Nona the Ninth. So I have officially finished the Locked Tomb trilogy, or at least all that is out, because it's still showing Electo is out because it's supposed to be a trilogy. And now there's a 4th book apparently coming out at some point. I don't know. But I read Nona. I really liked it. I like Nona as a character. I thought she was fun and cute, and going on this journey with her and trying to figure out what she knew and what was real in what she knew, as well as trying to figure out who is in her head. Who is she not? And then also trying to figure out the whole Gideon situation again, as well as the situation with Ianthe. So I liked it. I thought it was a fun book. I honestly don't know if I'm going to keep going with this series. I like it, but it's so confusing too. And I think it might be because it's been so long since I've read Gideon the Ninth, and I should have read Gideon the Ninth before picking up Harrow. I don't know. But I may need to find somebody's spark notes on this to maybe help me understand the plot or things that happened a little better, and maybe help remember characters. Because there are people that's yes, you again. I was like, who? But yes, this is the 3rd book, so I can't really talk much about it without spoiling things for the other books. Yeah, so I read that. The 5th book was also a library book. It was also a pick for the library's book club. The book club for November was noir or hard-boiled detective. That was the theme. It was an interesting theme because a lot of us were like, like what does that mean? But there was a list of books that the library provided that was like, these books fit this topic. And so I picked the one that I wanted to read, which was Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this follows like rival vampire gangs, as well as like a human detective in Mexico City, and just so much like blood and violence, and you know, one of them's on the run trying to, you know, stay safe, and it's a lot. That's basically all I can tell you, because the more I have to explain it, at least in the way that I explain things, I would probably spoil it. But it's basically rival vampire gangs in Mexico fighting, trying to get away from each other, going into hiding, as well as, you know, kind of the human lives stuck in the middle of it all. The cover version that I have, I like this one, but I do like the other covers that I've seen. So potentially if I ever see a copy of this book in a thrift store, I will purchase it and bring it on my shelf, just because, like, you know, I do like vampires and I thought it was fun, and it was also my first Silvia Moreno Garcia book and I enjoyed her writing. I then followed a little bit of a theme, and the next book that I read, granted it was through my flip or flop, which you can see I still have some. This entire shelf down here is wrapped books. But the next book that I read is When Life Gives You Vampires by Gloria Duke. This book is about a plus-size woman who suddenly wakes up one morning and she's a vampire, and now she has to figure out how to navigate her new life as a vampire, deal with the man who changed her, as well as the fact that because she was changed, she's gonna be hunted, you know, because of vampire laws. I thought it was a fun, cute little book, a little bit of romance. There's some steamy scenes in here, so I thought it was nice. I liked it. There is, in case it is triggering to others, she is coming to terms with her body in this book. She's not a type of plus size character that's like, yeah, I'm plus size, deal with it. You know, she herself is still internally and somewhat externally struggling with her weight, and so the fact that she is now immortal and stuck in the body that she has as a 25-year-old, she does go through that. So if that's something that could be triggering to you, that you at least wanted to know ahead of time, here's your warning. I don't know if there was content warning on that in the beginning. Let me look. Okay, yes. There was content warnings. So it goes, this book explores negative body image on the path to body positivity with references to unhealthy dieting. So it may be triggering. So that is a content warning here. So that's good. I don't remember to check content warnings before I read books. I'm just like, I'm going in blind. So for somebody who does check trigger warnings, this book has those. Just that one though. Did enjoy this. I don't know if I'm going to read the next one, because there's one that follows Vampire Hunter. I may just see how people feel about that one. Next book is one that I was able to start and finish within, I would say, maybe 3 hours. And that is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. I decided to read this one day, a little bit for the book club at my local library, because the December theme was a book that is also on screen, so whether TV show, movie, and this movie just came out this year, and so I read it, and the same day my roommates were going to the movie theater to see, I think, Terrifier 3, because they like horror movies, and I asked if I could just tag along in the car, and I went and I watched The Wild Robot by myself and one old man who sat like 4 rows behind me. It was just us two in the theater. But I thought this book was so cute. I really liked it. It might be slightly too old for my nephew right now, but definitely when he gets old enough to read this, I will have him read it because I think it's very cute, and it just shows, you know, people with, you know, differences, communities coming together and overcoming, you know, adversities in, you know, ways. Like, obviously it's a robot and there's a lot of animals, but you can kind of take their struggles and put it towards, you know, humans. And the movie made me cry. I didn't cry while reading this book, but the movie did make me cry, and I think that has to do with like the music too. And yeah, so I highly recommend the movie if you don't want to read the book, but I do also highly recommend the book. And because I was able to read the first one so quickly, I if they're finally off of hold at my library, I will read the other two, because there's 2 more books following Roz. So I will see if I can get to those. The next 2 books I picked through Flip or Flop, or one of them I picked through it and then I read the other one just because it was the same author. They're not part of a series, but it is both books by Paul LeBlanc. So it is Students First and Broken. So I got these books while I was a student at Southern New Hampshire University, while Paul LeBlanc was still president. The president is now Lisa Ryerson, but Paul LeBlanc, I don't think these are the only books he's written, but they're just the only 2 of his that I have. And this follows equity, access, and opportunity in higher education. And this one is how our social systems are failing us and how we can fix them. So I just thought it was, you know, interesting, you know, 2 nonfiction, you know, researchy kind of books to read, especially as somebody who, you know, kind of works in higher education, who was just recently in higher education themselves. And I thought it was also pretty timely because I read these around the time of the election. I was reading these, so made me giggle a little bit while I read these, and certain parts of the world were falling apart. If you like reading about higher education, social systems, I recommend these to you. They are both, they're from 2 different presses, but Paul LeBlanc, I highly recommend the books. The next book I also picked for the December book club, just because I was like, I don't know if they would count The Wild Robot or not. But also they would not have counted this book because this book has not been turned into a screen adaptation at all. But it is the 2 novellas by Peter S. Beagle following The Last Unicorn. So it's The Way Home. So it includes So's, and which has never before been published, and then 2 Hearts. I thought this was really fun, so I only picked this because The Last Unicorn is a movie and I've been wanting to read this. So I picked it. I really liked them. I thought they were fun. I liked 2 Hearts a little bit better than I did So's. I felt So's was just slightly too long, but I did still enjoy the book as it was. The next book I read, I was also able to read this book in like an hour, which was kind of fun. I read it while I was home for my graduation and Thanksgiving with family, and that is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. And I liked this book. I thought it was really cute. I got this book myself at a yard sale for 50 cents. And part of me wants to get a new copy because whoever had the book before me, their child got a hold of it and scribbled on some of it. So there are some pages that were hard to read because there was crayon, marker, something over some of the words. So I do want to get my own copy, but copies of this book are like $23, $25. So that might be a thrift store find for me to get another used copy of this. And maybe when I get a new copy, oh, it's even, I think there's even pen mark on the cover. I don't think those lines, yeah, some of those lines probably aren't supposed to be there. Anyway, when I get a new copy of this, perhaps I will use some of the pages in here for like my journaling, because some of the art is just really beautiful. I really do like it. So I'll possibly do that. I'll use some of the artwork in my journal once I get a new copy of this book. But until then, I will most likely keep it on my shelf because I did like it. It was a very cute little book. I feel like this is something you could read to a kid. Very inspiring and also just kind of comforting, you know, showing that you can be whoever you are and whoever you are is okay. Now, the next book that I have, it's actually a DNF. I did not read this book. I read maybe 10 pages of this book. And the reason I DNF'd it, before showing you what book it is, it's for a very petty reason. A very petty reason. I'll show you the book. So the book is Suspicious Minds by Gwenda Bond. It is the first official Stranger Things novel. A book that I found at like I think it was in Ollie's that I found once. I was walking around with my cousin and we found the books and I was like, cool, because I was really big into Stranger Things. Now I really couldn't care less. I decided to pick this up. I have a different Stranger Things novel too, somewhere in here. But I decided to go into this one. I think I had read the description of it a while back, or maybe I didn't, and I just assumed it was all about Dr. Brenner. I thought it was just all about him, but after reading like the prologue and a little bit of the first chapter, I realized it's not just following him. And then I actually read the summary, and I realized that this book follows number 8, who shows up in season 2. And I did not like her storyline. I thought it was just kind of unneeded. Like it's never connected back to the rest of the show at all. It was just this little side quest that Elle did because I just didn't care. And maybe it's because I just don't care about Stranger Things anymore as well. I DNF'd this book. So I can't say if it's bad or not because I didn't read it. I just DNF'd it for a very petty reason, which I'm allowed to do that. So if you still really like Stranger Things, if you had no idea this was a thing and you did not hate 8's storyline, maybe pick this up. Next book that I read, and actually the last flip or flop book of the year, is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a like dark academia-esque book. It follows 7 college kids in this like Shakespearean theater kind of college, and their 4th year, so it's their last year. And during this last year, there's a murder, and one of them goes to jail for it. And then 10 years later, the person that went to jail is like, I'm finally gonna tell the real story. Like, you're finally gonna know like what happened, you know, who did it, all that kind of stuff. And as you're going through, you're trying to figure out, you know, who it could have been. So I liked it. I thought it was good. It wasn't as good as I was expecting. I think maybe I let the hype online kind of hype me up a little too much. And so I was just let down by my own expectations. But I did like it. I thought it was a good book. It just might not be one that I keep on my shelf and that I give out. Because I think some people really like this cover and they can't find it. So maybe I'll set this free into the wild and I'll try my hand at a different dark academia. But I liked it. It was fine. I think because I don't know Shakespeare a lot myself, whenever they were talking in Shakespeare, I was like, wait, what do you mean by that? Like, if they weren't just reciting their lines for whatever play they were doing, and they just decided to speak in Shakespeare lines between each other, I was like, I don't know Shakespeare well enough to understand what you mean by those lines. So if that's you, go ahead. The last book that I read in 2024, I picked up, it wasn't a flip or flop, I picked it up because it was a Christmas read that I hadn't read yet, and I had gotten it last year for Christmas, so I said I'm gonna wait until Christmas to read it, and I finished it on December 31st, so just on the cutoff, so it is officially the last book of 2024. Or actually the little novella. Oh, I can't talk about this one yet. Okay. I will. So it is A Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. Right before I read this, I was looking it up and I saw that after A Merry Little Meet Cute, there is like a small little novella. It's just two, I don't even know if it's novella. I think they called it novella online. But it's just 2 chapters for B and Nolan that take place after A Merry Little Meet Cute. So I read that, and then I fully read this, and then there's also one after this that follows the 2 main characters, Winnie and Callum, that I read as well. So technically, Oh Come All Ye Newlyweds is the last book of 2024. Not this one. But whatever. So this one, in A Merry Little Meet Cute, we follow B and Nolan. Nolan is one of the members of the band Ink. They were like a boy band, and they film a Christmas kind of Hallmark movie together. But then news breaks out at the end that B is actually a adult entertainer and has what is called an Open Doors account, which is basically an OnlyFans. I don't know why I said it like that. Have an OnlyFans, I don't care. Make your money how you can. It's following that, and then in the course of this, something happens with Callum, another member of the band Ink. And so this book follows Callum, as well as the woman who was originally supposed to be in the movie with Nolan, who got replaced with B, making a different movie in this one. And what's really fun is that they knew each other because both of them were in the industry together. The female, she was a child star, she rose up. She was in a lot of more like wholesome, maybe a little bit of Christian, more like movies. The movie that she's going into is more of a sultry kind of Santa movie. So it's very much off of her brand, but I very much liked it. So far, this actually could potentially be my favorite out of these books so far, which will be really funny because out of the other like little plus size romance trilogy that I have, the spoiler alert one by Olivia Dade, my favorite is the second one of that. So I don't know if that's just a thing with me, but I felt like I really liked this one a lot more, and the characters and what they went through. It didn't feel like there was a third act breakup to me, because the like third act breakup, not, it's sort of a spoiler, but like it happens like this far into the book. So that's not third act. Normally the breakup will happen like here. You're like, excuse me? But instead it happened like here. It also has, just like this one, the first one in this, the Christmas Notch series, it does have some spicy, steamy romance scenes between the characters, but I thought that they were very nice, sometimes kind of cute with the way that they acted with each other. So definitely if you're into having, holiday books. There's also talk of Hanukkah because Callum is Jewish, and he even makes a joke because in the movie that they're making, he's playing Santa Claus. He makes a joke. I think he's nervous babbling in front of the female character Winnie, and he's like, did I mention I'm Jewish and I'm playing Santa? So it does touch on his Jewish heritage a little bit. I am not Jewish. I honestly don't know if I know anybody Jewish. I don't know how well that representation is in this book, but to me it made it feel like it was more of just a holiday book instead of like specifically Christmas, at least to me. But I really liked it. So if you like books that give you a holiday feel or Christmas feels, and you like romance, if you like plus size main characters, if you like boy bands, I recommend the Christmas Notch series. There is a third book. It's called A Jingle Bell Mingle that came out this year that follows, I'm assuming, the other member of Ink. So those were the books that I read in the last 3 months, or read and DNF'd. that one DNF that I had. But now we're going to go through the books that I purchased in the last 3 months, which is technically 5, but really 4. And I will explain how that is as we go along. So I finished my master's degree, or my classes at least, in the end of October, or the very beginning of October, actually. And I decided that I would treat myself to a gift. Me and some friends, we were going to go to Cheesecake Factory, have something to eat, and then go to the Barnes & Noble next door because it's 2 stories. And that I would buy myself 3 books because it took me 3 years to complete my degree. I started in October of 2021 and I ended in October of 2024. So to me, that meant I should get 3 books. And I did. But what I did is I went through and I tried to find books that I've had on my TBR the longest. And so I wrote down a list of them. I think it was a list of like 7 books. And I just walked around and I looked for those books. I could only find 2 of those books on the shelf while we were there. So then I just grabbed another book that actually wasn't on like my TBR on StoryGraph when I was looking, but I know that I've been wanting it. The 2 books that I picked to get, we have A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent, and this is by Marie Brennan. So I just love dragons, and this kind of gives me the feel of like you're following somebody else's writing. Gives me a little bit of a notion of like How to Train Your Dragon, maybe a little bit. I'm very interested in what this is all about. I've always been very intrigued by this cover, this like medical book-esque cover of it. So I got this one and I'm very excited for it. And then the next one that I got, this is The Lost Village, and it is by Camilla Sten. And this one, it says on the back that the Blair Witch Project meets Midsommar in this brilliantly disturbing thriller. I have not seen either of those movies, but I've always been somebody who is interested in learning about the lost city of, or the lost colony of Roanoke, even though most likely they didn't just vanish or die. I think evidence has shown where they've gone. I just like hearing about it, but I also do like without a trace sort of, stories, things like that. And so does the main character in this. She's a documentary filmmaker and obsessed with vanishing residents of this specific town called the Lost Village. It's an old mining town. And so she decides to film a documentary there and things start happening. So I figured I would try this, and it actually turned out pretty well because this was the only copy left at Barnes & Noble when I went. The next one that I have, I'm pretty sure this book I have seen online because one of the main characters is possibly asexual or ace, maybe. If not, I'm thinking of a different book and I've just confused the 2 covers. But this book is also about dragons, and the cover's really pretty, and it also has sprayed edges, and that is Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. And so, like I said, I originally got this book thinking it was the one with an ace main character. I had seen it on TikTok, somebody said that, and I was like, hey, I want to diversify my shelves in that way. Also, dragons. It's also very, interesting in here in that humans betrayed dragons, stealing their magic, dragons aren't forgiving, and so, like, it's a battle coming up from something that happened long ago. I know I read the back of this when I got it. I just haven't read the back of it since. 4th one that I truly bought, I got it when I was home for Thanksgiving. I went to the thrift store and I decided I'd get myself a book if I saw something on a shelf that I'd been wanting. So I did. I got Crying in H Mart, and this is by Michelle Zauner. I'll need to look up how to pronounce that. But it is a memoir on her, growing up, being Korean. It's a coming of age story. It is a, like it says, it's a memoir. So I was very interested, but The one bad thing of this is that I got it at the thrift store. I was able to take the sticker that the thrift store had on the spine. The thrift store that I went to, they put the sticker kind of like on the spine here. I was able to take that one off. Nice. Then the book had a Barnes & Noble sticker on it. It was like, I think it was one of the like buy one get one 50% off stickers. I don't remember. I was being so careful with that sticker, and it ripped a book. It ripped the book. My book's ripped. Sad about that. And I tried everything to like get the cover to stay, but it just did not. So I'm very sad about that, but I am excited to hopefully read Crying in H Mart soon and see if I like it as much as everybody else. Even though it's weird to talk about liking a memoir like you would a fiction book. I don't know. I still grapple with that sort of thing. Now, the fifth book. As some of you may know, if you watched my video either, I think it was the beginning of this year, but I had a buying tracker in my journal. So every book that I did read, I would get $2 to spend for each book at the end of the year. Every book I purchased, I would take away $5 from that total. With the amount of books I've read all year, I've read 35 books total this year. So that's $70. I purchased 10. So that takes away 70. So that means I had $20 that I could spend on books at the end of the year. And that's not including whatever rewards I got through Barnes & Noble, because my family uses my membership. So the next book that I bought, it is $18. So I am counting it within that 20%. Even though I didn't do my full like end of year haul shopping when I bought it, but I did buy it at a Barnes & Noble because I went with my friend. I just wanted to kind of see what was there. And it was a triple points day for premium members. So I bought this book, and then I bought a book for one of my friends because it was a exclusive edition of one of their favorite series. So I bought this book sort of as part of that. But that is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel book to Legends and Lattes. So I've been wanting it, and I decided that this would be the time now to pick it up. So that way I have the matching covers. They did have the pretty like exclusive editions with like the blue and the green covers, but I haven't read this, so I don't know if I'm going to like Bookshops and Bone Dust as much. So I didn't get those. But at least I'll have the book that I can read. The last 4 books that I will show today are the books that I was gifted for Christmas this year. The first 3 are from my family, and then the 4th one is from my friend Lexa. The first part of my book gifts from my family is that they were at Barnes & Noble. My nephew's school was doing a fundraiser with our local Barnes & Noble, where if you go, you scan a code, it would send a percentage of the proceeds to my nephew's school. So they went, and apparently my sister was just given the free premium membership gift, and she wouldn't tell me what it was. And she was like, or she lied. She told me it was a tote bag again, because the first time I got the gift, I got a tote bag. And she just told me, oh, it's just another tote bag like you got last time. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But it wasn't. It was this little thing of book plates. And it comes in a little thing that looks like a book. You can open it. So there's just a bunch of book plates. So these all say like, this book belongs to, from the library of, and you just write your name on it. And then it's a sticker. So you take the sticker off, and then you put it inside of a book. So I will go through the books that I know that I'm keeping that are on my shelf, and I will start adding some of these book plates soon. So that's kind of like the first part of it, but I just wanted to share it because it's so cute. I love it. First book that I got from my family, which you will somewhat recognize, but it is A Jingle Bell Mingle by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. So this is the 3rd book in Christmas Notch. I did just read the summary, it does follow the third member of Inc., Isaac. It also follows Sunny, which is Bee's best friend, as well as an adult filmmaker. So it's following them. From what I read, it looks like Sunny has proposed a movie idea to the Hope channel, and so it's going to follow that and see how it goes. So that's all I really know about it. So excited to read it. What I can say is, while I do love the cover, and I also see the cat there, she has a cat named Mr. Tumnus. It's not fully the same because of the spine. So with this spine, it just follows the scene. Whereas this spine, as well as Merry Little Meet Cute, it has the title and just them on the side, the two main characters. And so this spine doesn't do that. But I'm also happy that I have it in hardcover, so I can't complain too much. If that's my only complaint about this book, then I think I'm fine. But this was the first book that I got, so I have the full Christmas notch. So get ready for my review next year of this one. Next two books that I got, I had added to my wish list because I purchased the first book in this series. It is a plus-size romance series. I forget the name. Like what the series name is. Cocky Kingsman's series by Amy Ward. So I have The Wiener Across the Way and The Pussy Next Door. I just think they're kind of cute titles. I think they're really fun. Also, I realized that the cover art for these, as well as I'm assuming the other book, that one's wrapped. I can't find it. But at least who did these two covers is the artist who did Olivia Dade's books, which is Lenny Kaufman. And I love their art style. I think it's really pretty. And I know some people are kind of over like spicy or steamy romance books having cartoonish covers or illustrations. I'm not. I think it's really nice, especially, with plus size books, of being able to find somebody that can like beautifully relay, someone that's not somebody you traditionally see on a cover in a way. But also some people are just really good artists and they should have their work shown constantly. Yeah. But I also learned on Christmas Day that Amy Ward has, I think, 1 or 2 Christmas books. So I may see if I can snag those so I can also read them at Christmas time with Jingle Bell Mingle. I think that would be really funny. But that would also possibly mean that I need to read The Cocky Kingsman before. My last Christmas present that I got was from my friend Lexa. And what she did was she went to her local Barnes & Noble, and her Barnes & Noble always has a blind date with a book. And so she didn't want to pick a book for me like herself because she also doesn't know what I have wrapped. So she couldn't one day just come in and look at my bookshelf and be like, "Ooh, she doesn't have this one. I'll get it." Because you have like half of my books wrapped. So she didn't want to buy me something that I already had. So she just got me a blind date with a book. So that way we were both surprised on what it was. And I have ripped the like bag that it was in. So I cannot read you the little blurb, but it has something to do with mushroom spores. But the book is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, which is a book that I've been interested in because so many people were saying very good things about this book, but nobody was talking about the plot. So I had no idea what it was about. I could have looked up the plot myself, but I didn't. So if you are also that kind of person and you don't look up the plot of books and you just listen to people talk to them, this book is about a young girl who likes collecting things from travelers that come in, like teacups, things like that, vintage stuff. And then one day her friend is forced on a voyage by his father to go find a bride. And something happens. And so the father, does she go with the father? Okay, it looks like, okay, no, the father and the friend go on the first trip to find the wife, and then trouble happens, so Tress stows away on another ship to go off and save them. So it sounds very cute. Also, part of the blind date description was that she has a pet rat. So I'm excited to meet this pet rat and see what his name is. So I'm very excited. It's a book that I don't own, and it's something that I've been interested in. All right, that's way too many books. I'm not holding them all up for the end of this video, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know what kind of books or bookish gifts that you got for the holiday season. I believe at the time of recording this, Hanukkah may still be going on, though by the time you're watching this, most likely is not. But I know that there's more holidays than just Christmas around the winter time. There's also New Year's Eve, which just happened. So if you got any gifts just for the holiday season, or you bought yourself something, let me know in the comments. Or if you've read any of the books that I have or that I've purchased or were gifted and you want to talk about those, let me know down in the comments below. But I will see you guys in another new video soon. A bientôt!